Hi, I'm Femi OK, and you're in the stream. Today, a very important episode. We are going to take a look at some of the biggest myths about COVID-19 and clear up rumours and misconceptions. We are joined by a panel of experts to take your questions. So you can send them via our live YouTube chat or on Twitter at AJ Stream. Joining us on Skype, Dr. Fahim Yunus is Chief Quality Officer and Chief of Infectious Diseases at the University of Maryland, Upper Chesapeake Health. Sikhan Akpan is Science Editor at National Geographic, and Alistair Reid is the Digital Editor at First Draft News. Thank you for all being with us. You're going to be on screen pretty much all of the time. So whenever you want to myth bust, whenever you want to add something, help us understand something better, go ahead. We're going to be on TV together for the next 25 minutes. Let's get started. Young people capitalise on cheap coronavirus flights. If I die, I die. So that is on my laptop. That is a headline that has been going around for the last couple of weeks. Fahim, Dr. Fahim, can young people actually get coronavirus? Are they safe?
So coronavirus will not discriminate whether you're young or old. The only difference is you may have a milder disease based on what we know so far. Most of the bad outcomes are in elderly and those with immunocompromised conditions. So you may still get the disease, but you want to roll the dice by a cheap flight domestically. I'll leave that up to you. Of course, internationally, you got to be more careful.
Sikhan, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, some of the early evidence suggests that young people are actually more likely than older people to catch the disease. So there's a higher percentage of cases in young people. And then at least one report in the New England Journal of Medicine found that young people actually make up a higher proportion of severe disease. So what I've been telling people is that death isn't the only danger. Right. So you could have severe disease and end up with a lifelong lung injury, even if you don't die. So young people definitely should take this seriously.
I have another headline, and this is, we've been reporting this in the news, and this is about the idea that places in China, in South Korea, they've done a really good job of beating the coronavirus, and the number of cases have gone down, so everything is okay out there. So let me show you this week in Asia. Coronavirus, South Korea's infection rate falls without city lockdowns like China and Italy. Sikhan, you start with this one first of all. Myth or true?
Well, I actually think it's kind of a myth. I mean, there were some small lockdowns in South Korea, but they were just very isolated. I mean, I think if you compare China with South Korea, their strategies were sort of similar in terms of what actually was able to stem the spread of the virus. And that was increasing testing. What we found in multiple different locations is that the only way that you can get ahead of this outbreak is by just testing out the caboose, I might say. You just have to keep testing.
Very politely put. I love that. Test the butt of this disease. All right. Dr. Fahim, I saw you laughing there, smiling at the idea that South Korea is done, China's done, everything's okay.
I wouldn't say done, but here's the point. I think I'm a football fan. So football games or basketball games are decided in the fourth quarter. It's the action-packed fourth quarter. In coronavirus, it's the first quarter that matters, not the fourth quarter. It's how you play your first quarter, how you initially take control of this disease. What South Korea has done is test, and then mitigate. So to give you a comparison, in US, we have tested about 100 people per million. South Korea has done over 5,000 tests per million. So when you identify that much, like Sikhan was saying, many of the younger people may be asymptomatic. They may be roaming in the malls, just spreading it to others. But once you identify them and you give them a PS4 or an Xbox, whatever they like, and you say, 1 week, see ya, and chances are you're going to get a better hold on this virus.
Fahim, so to keep with the sporting analogy, what quarter are we in right now?
Good question. I think we are probably towards the end of the first quarter, maybe in the second, and it depends which country you talk about.
Yeah.
I think in US, we are in first quarter. I think in Italy, they are probably reaching halftime.
All right, so Sikhan, you take this one. The coronavirus is just like flu, no biggie.
No, I mean,
Alistair's like, I can't wait to get started on this. Clutching head. Face palm.
Response.
How mad Flu must be over the past 2 weeks. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Sikan, but think from Flu's perspective, man. This is bad. Sorry.
We're laughing. I think this is gallows humour here.
No.
All right, Sikan, go ahead.
No, it's wild. I just keep hearing this comparison over and over again. I mean, I think we should treat COVID-19 and flu as serious infections, right? But they're serious in their own ways. I mean, COVID-19, if you look at the death rate, what we call the case fatality ratio, it's 30 to 40 times higher than what we see with seasonal influenza.
Yeah.
So, if COVID-19 reaches as many people as seasonal influenza in the United States, I mean, you're talking about 1 million deaths. I mean, we haven't seen that many deaths in a short period. I mean, at least for the people who are alive, we haven't seen that ever.
Alistair, you were head clutching. Articulate the head clutch.
That's one rumor that has been shared around so often and so frequently, and it could actually be one of the most dangerous ones. Is if people don't think that it's going to affect them, exactly as has been discussed already. If people don't think this is a problem, if people don't think it's going to affect them, that doesn't mean that it won't affect others. And I think one of the reasons that rumor has been so pervasive is because it affects different people in different ways, and because there's been a lot of uncertainty. And one thing that we know for sure about, my specialty isn't medicine. My specialty is how information travels online and misinformation. And when there is uncertainty, people often try to fill that gap. Like we often say, like, misinformation loves a vacuum.
Yeah.
When there is not a lot of accurate or reliable information, or a lot of the time when researchers and academics disagree about the best course of action, people are trying to help each other out, right?
Yeah.
And people are trying to fill that gap.
Can you show and tell us how that might work? I know you've got your laptop ready. You're going to screen share with us.
Yeah. So I think with this situation, we've kind of seen a lot of the disinformation and misinformation, rumors and falsehoods shared accidentally. A lot of that has been in terms of kind of 4 distinct buckets, I'd say. It's been about where it's come from, like the source of the coronavirus. It's been around how it spreads, how it's traveled around the world. It's been around some of the treatment and the symptoms, and it's been around how governments responded. So I'm not sure if you can see my screen at the moment. But
yeah, we see something. Yeah, there we go. We see it.
So
thank you.
This is some work by the excellent folks at AFP, who have been, along with a lot of other fact checkers around the world, really working overtime to battle some of the rumors that have been going around. And they identified this pervasive rumor, again, which has been shared as a video, saying that a video filmed in a market in Wuhan is where this is where the coronavirus originated. And they published this excellent fact check about it, and I can kind of walk through some of the steps of how they did that.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is one of the places where they found the video. And you can see now Facebook and a lot of the other platforms have really stepped up how they are responding to this. There's a thing when you land on it now that says false information. That wasn't there initially when it was shared, and it's had, nearly 4,000 shares we can see here. This is one of dozens of examples of this video. And you can see when you go to it that people are walking around. As the video goes on, you can see various animals which are apparently being sold and eaten. And what we see again and again and again, this is no matter what the topic is, it's old pictures and old videos recirculated, reused online. This is that same video, and I don't know, hopefully your viewers can see there, from July 2019, not from Wuhan. And this is in Indonesia as well, sorry. Not from Wuhan, not from December when it started. And in terms of how anyone can check this stuff out, it's called what we call it reverse image search. So you can search Google or Yandex or Baidu, all of these other big internet search engines, and they obviously have their image databases. And if something has appeared online before, there will be a record of that on the pages it's appeared. So there's a really good plugin for Chrome, hopefully I can do this very quickly, called InVid, which anyone can access. I kind of loaded this up already. You put the URL for the thing that you're suspicious about in there, and in the keyframes area, and then what you do is you can search for some of these pictures to see if they've appeared online before. I'm in Chrome, so I can just go down to search Google for image, and it will pop up with a new window, which will identify whether or not Google has a record of that picture appearing elsewhere online, and immediately we can see all these examples of where that picture, that freeze frame from that video has appeared elsewhere. And this is something that anybody can do to check out a picture or video that they've seen online. And I think this should be taught in schools. But a big part of it as well is knowing when to do these checks and understanding the different types, as I said, about where it's come from, how it's spread, falsehoods around the treatment or about government responses. But anytime you see something which makes you go, wow, which makes you stop and react and give you that strong emotional reaction, that is a sign that potentially what you're seeing isn't true. And that some checks need to be done.
Yeah, so that's also known as common sense. All right. Dr. Fahim, that question about it's just flu, no biggie. I think it's really important that we get the medical perspective on this. You're an infectious disease specialist.
Sure.
Go ahead.
So 5 points. Number one, flu virus has been around for centuries, and therefore our bodies have some immunity against it. Coronavirus is novel. Our immune system has never seen this virus. So that is why many of the deaths are happening. Number two, it's a much more efficient virus than flu. If I have flu, I may pass it on to 1 or 2 more people. If I have coronavirus, I'm likely to pass it on to 3 people. Number 3, as Sikan has already said, or I think Alistair, that it's 20 to 30 times more lethal as compared to influenza. And number 4, for flu, we do have a treatment, we do have a vaccine. For coronavirus, we have neither one of them. And some people will say, well, the vaccine is just around the corner, the treatment is going to be around here in 3 months, and hope is a great thing. I love hope, but hope is not a strategy. It's a bad strategy. I think we have to understand that vaccine development and medication development is a long pipeline. If you are baking a cake and the recipe calls for 30 minutes in the oven, you can't turn up the heat in the oven and say, I'm going to get a cake in 30 seconds. You'll have a burned glob of something, but you won't have a cake. So no matter how good our intentions are, the vaccines and medications are months, if not years away, and we need a solution today. And that is why we think people need to understand the difference between coronavirus and flu and unite behind that social distancing.
Sikan, I know that you and Nat Geo have done some research into what happens to our lungs if we're infected with coronavirus. Can you just briefly explain that, so that even if we get it and then we recover from it, what's happened inside us?
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple of interesting points there. I mean, I think COVID-19, unlike its earlier cousins, SARS and MERS, it has this interesting feature in that it can infect both the upper respiratory tract, but also the lower respiratory tract. So with SARS and MERS, it was mainly the lower respiratory tract, and that's why it was so devastating. That's devastating because it really eats away at the lung tissue, leaving what's known as a honeycomb shape in the lungs. And that's where you start to see things like pulmonary fibrosis, which is just the technical term for permanent lung scarring. And as far as we know, there's no way to treat this scarring. So once it happens, you sort of have it for the rest of your life. During the infection itself, as your lungs get under more and more distress, and as your body tries to mount defense against this infection, your immune system really just gets overrun, and it creates something that's known as a cytokine storm, or as we called it a blood storm. Because essentially what happens is these markers that tell your immune system to switch on.
So Sikan, you're beginning to lose me a little bit. I'm so sorry. What happens inside my lungs? What's going to happen inside my lungs? Your lungs? Yeah.
So just inside of your lungs, it's destroying your lower, the bottom part of your lungs, and creating this honeycomb shape.
Okay.
But I think the other thing that's interesting about COVID-19 is that it infects your upper respiratory tract, so your throat, your nose, and that's what allows it to spread.
Got it.
So easily.
All right. Yeah. Okay. All right. Alistair, more myths out there. Obviously, people are really keen to know, how do we get better? What are the cures? And I know that cures are some of the problematic areas that people are dipping into on social. Help us understand that a bit more.
Yeah, I think people, the way that misinformation travels a lot is people trying to, like, social media is very performative, right? And a lot of it is people trying to help each other, people trying to provide value to each other and be a good citizen in this situation. And part of that is looking out for their friends and family. So many times we've seen people sharing things online, talking about potential cures, potential treatments, all kinds of things around how people can prevent getting it, or how people can get better if they do have it. And one particularly galling example, I'm going to share my screen again quickly now. This has appeared in lots and lots of different circumstances, but of apparently people sharing the claim that alcohol can either prevent coronavirus or can cure coronavirus. This is from the great people at Boom, which is a fact-checking organization in India, and this was actually put on newspapers out in India. Hopefully, I might have to refresh it, but it was shared in clips and went wild on WhatsApp. This inaccurate claim that alcohol can help, and this isn't just in India but around the world. Now, I can't speak with the authority of our other guests here in terms of what is good and what isn't. But everyone should be listening to their doctors rather than what they see shared on WhatsApp, because the effect that this one had, for example, is that in Iran, dozens of people died from drinking alcohol in attempts to either cure or protect themselves against coronavirus. And there have been other things. This is sent to me. I asked some friends around on WhatsApp, have you seen anything weird recently about what can and can't help you, or what can and can't spread the disease? And this is something which has popped up again and again and again, with claims about that if you take a deep breath and hold for more than 10 seconds, then you're fine if you can do that. You should drink water every 15 minutes just to make sure that
I read that the other day. Oh.
So,
Alistair, I have a question here. Don't you think when a message ends by saying, spread this message, that's a red flag in itself?
Yeah, and that's something, but it's a hard thing, right? Because a lot of people will also be I'll go back to this. A lot of people will also be saying to their friends, this is something which a friend of a friend of a friend's aunt, sister's, brother's, daughter's husband told me, and that is really important and it could save your life. So read it and share it. I agree with you that someone here has put together this whizzy graphic and is looking for people to share it, and they've got their handle underneath it.
Yeah.
But in terms of cures, in terms of treatments, in terms of, there aren't any cures at the moment. In terms of treatments and prevention, please, everybody listen to the experts, because that's what is going to help people, and that's what's going to save people's lives.
Alistair, do you know what I love? And I found out just because I was searching for coronavirus and I was just doing a normal search, and you can see here, I was really shocked because I was on Twitter and I was looking for coronavirus, and then up popped, interrupting my search, this.
Yes.
And I couldn't go to where I wanted to go. It just said, know the facts. And it sent me to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. It took me straight to that site. Fact after fact after fact. I shared that because I was really impressed. This very rarely happens for big news stories on social. And then Felipe actually joined in and said, hey, they're doing it everywhere. And Felipe is here in Brussels. And there he shared what he was seeing when he tried to search for coronavirus. Is this the good that social media platforms are doing? Just very briefly, Alistair.
Yeah, they've really stepped up in the last couple of weeks in terms of, and for longer than that, in terms of how they're responding and how they're protecting their users. I would say that that's in contrast to a lot of the measures that they and different ones have brought in before that when it comes to political misinformation, which we, over the last 6 months, we've seen in various different situations. Over the recent years, there's been all kinds of political misinformation, but I think here there is a real risk of harm. People are going to die.
People are going to die if you get it wrong.
All right. Get it wrong.
We promised our audience on the stream that we would not only myth bust, but we'd answer their questions. Dr. Fahim, this one is great. It's been coming in as we've been talking. So JD says, is it correct to say that black people are less likely to contact coronavirus? And then another one, exactly the same topic. Samuel says, can black people resist coronavirus better than white people? Dr. Fahim.
So great question. I think one of the reasons that you're seeing celebrities getting this infection, the virus is saying something. The virus is saying, I don't care whether you're white or black, you're rich or poor, you're Republican or Democrat.
If you're Idris Elba or not Idris Elba, makes no difference.
Exactly. So the virus is asking one simple question: are you human? And if you're human, you're a target. Because guess what happens? The virus knows that it can only kill 2% of the people. The other 98% are likely going to be well, either without a hospitalization or with. So the virus has two options: either kill you, that's how it wins the game, which is only 2%. The bigger strategy for the virus is that within those next 7 or 8 days that there is an immune system fight going on within your body, the virus finds another host and infects another human being and continues to gain those 7 days on and on and on. So the virus actually doesn't care whether you're black or white. I think the precautions are universal and should be taken by everyone.
Sikan, weigh in.
Well, I think just on that last point, I mean, there's some early evidence suggesting that people might be reinfected with the coronavirus, which might suggest that our bodies are having trouble creating an immunity to this virus. And that would fit with what we've seen with cold-causing coronaviruses, right? Like we can get infected over and over again with those viruses. That could be troublesome for developing a vaccine because you really need the human body to be able to set up immunity.
Sikan, I think I look at it differently because this we see in many infections where finding the infection or the DNA in the respiratory system is not evidence of reinfection. Sometimes this is just dead particles, and we all believe that we don't know, but there will be some immunity, particularly in the same season. How long that immunity lasts is open to question, but of course, we don't know the right answer.
All right, gentlemen, I'm going to speed things up a little bit.
I think it's still an open question. Yeah.
Gents, we've got a lot of questions. I'm going to just move on a little bit. So this is coming from YouTube here. Rena Rue, I'm hearing a lot of people thinking that heat can kill the virus. Is this a myth? I fully believe it is a myth.
The virus is flourishing in a lot of hot areas of the world, in Florida, in Phoenix, in Australia. So far, what we know, I do not think that we should believe that summer is going to make this outbreak go away.
Sikan, go ahead.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, it's in Iran. We're seeing cases in Brazil, and it's summertime down there. So yeah, I don't think there's any indication that warm weather is going to stop this virus from spreading.
Okay. Let me move on.
This is one of the most, again, one of the cures or treatments or myths that's been going around again and again in various different forms. Often people might recognize this, viewers at home that may have received a WhatsApp message or seen it online where it's like a Stanford hospital board member says, here are all the list of things that are either that can help you or that the things that are going to kill coronavirus. And whether it's Stanford Hospital or Japanese doctor, like we saw in that clip before, in the picture that I showed before, a Philippines doctor, again and again, this is the same thing that we're seeing, but there's no real source for it. So again, exactly as Sikan and Fahim have been saying, those are the guys that we should listen to about this stuff.
Some people believe super fast the virus is man-made and is meant to control population growth. Getting that on Twitter. Go ahead, gents. Very quickly. So
there's a study that just came out in Nature. I can send it to you. It's very complex, actually. It's not, I have to make it user-friendly, but so far all the evidence we are seeing that it's not man-made.
Alistair?
I mean, this is one of those conspiracy theories that we find that a lot of people, if they believe one conspiracy theory, that they kind of compound and they snowball. So I've seen this same claim coming from groups that are about that climate change is a conspiracy, that 5G radio masts are going to give everyone cancer. And what I think this has become a particular problem online when the people who otherwise wouldn't find other people who believe the same thing as them are now able to get a real community around it. And that's something which we're constantly battling in terms of conspiracy theories and how to talk to those people. All
right, so Dr. Fahim Yunus, Sikan Akpan and Alistair Reid, thank you so much for helping us myth bust and giving us real facts about coronavirus, COVID-19. Look here on my laptop. We are not done with this conversation. We will answer your questions right here on the stream at this time tomorrow. You've got more questions, tweet us at AJStream. We will be your source of great information. See you online.